Because if you don't own it, you're not leading on it.
So if time saved isn't reaching teachers, where's it going?
That's your kryptonite to the lack of the infinite marketing budget. The night before the results come out on the Wednesday at the end of August, the GCSE, that is a terrifying evening.
There's your 5 million problems to start with. We're insanely far behind.
You're the head teacher of Crosthwaite C of E Primary School, small rural school in Cumbria. You also co-host the Joining the Doctor podcast with Al Kingsley, discussing education reform, AI, EdTech, leadership, inclusion, and the future curriculum. In 2023, you received a Pearson Award for Primary School Head Teacher of the Year for a leadership philosophy that I believe is built around one central strand. What does successfully educating a child actually mean? You have, in my opinion, a uniquely keen interest in both education technology and in outdoor learning. And rather than treating either as an itemized activity, your school embeds both areas within its wider curriculum with a consistent and relentless focus on creativity, collaboration, agency, and the broader real-life skills that your children will need for the future of their education, employment, and real life.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite an accurate introduction. I'm lucky to have a staff team behind me that go along with everything.
If I had to use a question as a summary of you from a professional point of view, from what I've gleaned from our interactions and what I understand of your work so far, I would summarize everything that you stand for in what does successfully educating a child actually mean. Would I be barking up the right tree with that?
I mean, I think another reason we're oversubscribed there is that families, not overall, some families are very aware of what is happening, like we've just talked. They know the world is changing. Digital literacy, media literacy, knowing what's real online is just, we're insanely far behind. So when we talk to parents, and when we talk to the kids, we say we're not interested in SATs results. We're not interested in external accountability. What we want is for you to leave school here in year 6 as confident, resilient, independent learners with initiative and a range of life skills, which we used to call soft skills, but we're now sort of saying life skills. And it starts really young. It starts in early years. We have a bloke comes up from Liverpool every Thursday. He does tech with early years. And they don't know they're doing tech. Some of them are 3 years old. But the fine motor skills, the gross motor skills using robots, whether it's Sphero or something a bit easier to use, or using iPads or Chromebooks, are developed. And he'll ping little questions in there about fairy tales and how do you know it's real, and starts, let's just sow the seeds early on. So by the time they leave us in year 6, they've had 7 years of things like that and other things, and staff mention little things and constant reminders about being anonymous online as best you can be, because keeping your name out is one thing, but actually they've got such a digital profile of you. We get there, but elections, and I know it's called Oracy now, but it was speaking and listening 15 years ago. It's been developed more as Oracy. We call it development, character development. It's getting the kids, because if you can get them to the stage where in year 6 they are confident and articulate enough to actually speak to adults, that is a hell of a head start for kids. And we hosted a conference here a while ago. We had 3 children, 10 and 11-year-old and a 15-year-old, running a round table with CEOs of big tech companies and people from different communities and EdTech experts. And, people like Professor Mick Waters came up, and everyone in there said, those kids are amazing. And one example would be our elections at the start of the year. One of the activities, or one of the groups that they can do a speech for, which is for years 1 to 6, is the ethos team. As a Christian school, we have 6 core Christian values. They're also human values. That's a separate conversation as well. They're not necessarily just Christian values. And those kids in years 1 to 6, every half term, they run a half a day on that value, and they plan activities and they run activities. And one of the girls was just saying to one of the panels, and we score every child that does the activities that afternoon. So what do you mean you score them? Well, we talk to each other, and then we assign them a numerical code. We quantify it. She didn't say quantify it, but I'm thinking kids here have worked out, because they give awards at the end of the afternoon, who was the best at engaging with this with value and who did best in the activities. They've simplified it so much that actually just by talking to the team that runs the afternoon, they come up with a general score, and then they assign that to the children. And just by talking. And yet in education, we're constantly worried about whether exams or coursework are the best way. And now we're worried about digital exams and how digital exams are going to be seamless. There'll be no problems, which made me laugh out loud because we're about 5 million computers short in education starters. So there's your 5 million problems to start with. But yeah, kids don't have this fixation like all in education do, or most in education do, with one way. Then they'll go to secondary school. And alongside that, we see that huge drop in enjoyment, don't we, in education? Evidenced, quantified by various organizations. In year 6, it's dropped slightly, year 6 SATs, and then year 7, it plummets and it never recovers.
There is an undeniable truth in, I would say, the vast majority of secondary schools, and having either worked or supported 40 possibly around the country in completely different places and contexts. If a school is only year 7 to 11, there's 5 year groups, you would think that 20% of resources go into each of those year groups. The 20% of teachers' time, teachers' effort, everything, the school as a functioning body would put 20% into each of those year groups so that every student felt in every year that they were as wrapped around, supported, encouraged, whatever you want to call it. And that is not true. I would say that year 11 very often feels like it is 80 or 90% of a school's resources. Everything that the school has got is going into year 11 from September when you look back at the last cohort's results, so that from the first day back in September, everything is about, right, what are we doing now to make sure that we improve on that? Rapid action plans, rapid improvement plans, department improvement plans, and then school improvements, rips, dips, sips, like all of this is year 11 focused. You then try to keep some back for year 10 because you don't want it to happen again next year, that you've got this emergency culture. By the time you've gone down through 9, through 8, through 7, in the worst examples, key stage 3 is almost a holding bay for the emergency of key stage 4. And that lack of enjoyment, I believe, is directly in line with the lack of attention and focus that is on that year group from a whole school point of view and down.
That doesn't surprise me in a way. It saddens me quite a lot. I started education when smart boards came in.
Mm-hmm.
And every few felt like, and you're similar with me in terms of time in education, it felt like every few years there was a new technology or a new transformation, whether it's interactive whiteboards and then iPads or Brain Gym within that and things like that, and AI, and all these cycles are speeding up. So it's gone from like a 5-year cycle. It feels like a 3-month cycle, to be honest now. What do you think we've actually learned from all these cycles? And are we behaving any differently this time as a sector?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm from exactly the same period in time. I think when I actually first started teaching in 2003, I had a chalkboard, but there were only 2 chalkboards left in the school. It just so happened that
Chalkboard.
I had a chalkboard. Yeah, I started teaching with chalk. I can remember the pain that chalk would have inflicted on the inside of your fingers by the end of the day, and what it would do to a black jacket as well. I remember the flight case of voting pads. Remember those? Like the silver flight case, looked like a plain flight
Oh, the
case
voting pads
with the
where
voting pads with
where you can do an
25.
interactive quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking at those and never actually buying one
Yeah.
because the cost
Good.
wasn't quite
Good.
value for money.
So yeah, they always ended up in one head of department's back cupboard, and would because of the way that you had to make the quizzes on them and the amount of labour that went behind them. And I think that was the same with a lot of piece of technology. The amount of human labour input that was needed meant that although part of the technology was trying to streamline the process, the other part required significant input from the human being. If something is new, it's stressful. It doesn't matter if it's better. It doesn't matter if it's quicker. It doesn't matter if it's cheaper. It can be all of those things. But if it's new and it's different, then it's stressful, because the job is difficult enough as it is without finding that 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 to look at the different way of doing something that could save you loads of time in the future. Because a lot of the time you have to invest at the beginning to get the benefit out of the thing in the medium or the long term. Where is the capacity and the headspace and the breathing room for those teachers to look at that new thing and get used to it, embrace it, let it kind of settle in? And yes, I'm really looking forward to using this because I've had the time to and the space to think about how I'm going to adopt this within my practice. Where are we enabling teachers and leaders to stop and pause and reflect? Where in the curriculum map does a head teacher say between the 20th of June at a secondary, when the GCSEs are generally finished by that date, and then 4 weeks later, where is the team in the school that are called the innovation team, whatever? Is that 4 weeks ring fenced for people to, let's look at new practices, what technology's out there, so we have our game time from year 11, 12, that where is the
It
space?
should be.
Yeah, and if it's, I understand
It
why
never
it's
is.
not. I understand why it's not. But ultimately, if that space isn't there in those 4 weeks, then you've got September and you just start again. So I don't think in any of these issues that technology itself per se is the problem. Technology is always going to claim to be, this is faster, this is better, this is cheaper, this is all of these superlatives, and AI can be exactly the same. Unless teachers are given space to play and poke and question, it's never going to be embraced, because otherwise it just sits, it's something else that just lands on your desk in a box, and
No.
you're told that's the secret.
I mean, time is the biggest challenge, isn't it? And I say to a lot of people, time and money are issues here. We don't have any money, and we certainly don't have any time. And realistically, even we've stopped taking teacher trainees in the past couple of years for two reasons. One is the quality that are coming through from the universities. On paper, you think, oh, great, I've got somebody who's going to teach year 5, 6 for 80% of the time in summer term. That'll give the teacher loads of time. The reality is they get no extra time.
Yeah.
They probably lose time because they're mentoring them, they're checking them, they're reserving them.
You've warned that potentially AI tools that don't know classes, curriculum, or school context are unlikely to improve teaching. What does AI need to understand about a school before a leader should trust it?
Oh, I mean, that's a really tricky one, isn't it? Because I have a real interest in AI. Part of that is personal and part of that's professional, in that I believe from all ages in my school, every children should be started to make aware of that and the associated dangers, risks, skills, and everything. In terms of what you should know is a really tricky one, because the honest answer is I can't keep up.
Yeah.
It all links to safety and cybersecurity, really, doesn't it? But there is no one-stop shop where you can just go and find that out.
Yeah.
So it's a constant read this, research it, check the research, because I use Claude and I use Gemini and I use a bit of Perplexity to try and cross-reference things.
Yeah.
But even that's not foolproof, The simple large language model, it's got inherent bias built into it, and most of it is white males, if we have to say. Most of it is white male creation and created and inputted and things like that. So straight away it's got a huge problem, because white males have done untold damage in every sector and aspect of this society and the world and the globe, whatever you want to call it, for centuries now. So I suppose the biggest thing is sharing the fact that you can never fully know and be fully aware of everything that you should be aware of, because it simply isn't possible. So you've got to be quite honest and teach the kids and let the parents know that actually we're doing everything we can to do this. And every parent has signed up, said, yeah, we'd like our kids to know about this. We agree with you. They do need to know it. But we cannot have that full guarantee that we're doing the right thing, because nobody out there has actually defined what the right thing is and what the right approach is. And there's some good resources out there, but you've got to question it all as well.
That's
So,
a good
yeah,
summary. That's a good
well,
summary.
I don't know. I don't know is probably my answer to that. Well, I think you've got to be honest. Having to say I don't know, because the experts in here can't keep up. What chance have I got? Schools as a whole are the target for so many EdTech companies, some of whom have huge marketing budgets. They have probably the least procurement expertise.
Yeah.
You've got things out there that you can look at. You can look at user ratings. But if a company has paid to be part of that user rating sector, well, straight away, it's not wholly reliable. So I suppose from your perspective, from inside a company, do you see that as a problem to solve? Or is it just a market conditional thing you've got to work with? I think I know the answer, because you're very, it is a problem. You've acknowledged that, haven't you? But I mean, as a CEO of EdenFiftyOne, as the founder of CEO, how would you say that? Because it's a tricky balancing act for you there.
Yeah. So the big companies and the big tech companies, they have infinite pots in terms of marketing and resource, which
Pretty
means
much.
that they're able to position themselves wherever they need to be, like, because it's marketing. I do think that there are too many, this is the way that you badge an ed tech company. It's on this site, so if it's on this site, then it's good. And then you get somebody else that comes along and goes, actually, we'll do the most impactful, reliable, whatever it is, ed techs, and we'll put it on. There are so many of those lists, so many different things for you to consider from an ed tech company's point of view. Are we on that list? Whereabouts are we on that list? Should we do Google reviews? And you know that you're always just chasing your tail because you don't have the marketing budget to try to keep up. And a lot of these things, by positioning yourself as being good, it's very expensive to do.
Yeah.
The best thing that you can have that they don't have is conversations with people in education about education, and be able to speak from a position of context and lived experience, and you can share that. And that
Educated, developed EdTech. Who would have thought that would be something?
That is, I believe, our and other similar teacher-founded EdTech positions. That's your kryptonite to the lack of the infinite marketing budget. When you have done the job, and when you continue to immerse yourself in it and work with people who do, and you openly want the feedback of day-to-day teachers, leaders, and learners, because you want to continually amend your platform offering so that those users, whatever their level, leader, mat leader, classroom teacher, or individual learner, or parent for that matter, when you embrace that feedback and kind of want to build something around them in their image, that is your best defense to, and no, we haven't got the biggest stand at bet, and we haven't got, we'll give it away for 6 months. That's the new one over the last few years. Oh, you can use this for a year.
See a lot of that, and then they hook you in.
Have this for a year. And you go, oh, wow, that's amazing. So we'll just go with them. The best defense that for people like me and for other former teacher-founded edtechs have is the ability to have a context and a lived experience-based conversation, and that's what develops the tech in the first place. It's not that we brought somebody in for a 3-hour chat so we can put them on the front of a website and say, look, we're a by teachers for teachers company. It's genuine lived experience tech. And that is the best defense that you have against infinite marketing budgets.
I think alongside that, I'd add in word of mouth. If somebody comes to me, constant emails or at the vet show, want you to try this, probably not going to go near it. And we get offered a lot of stuff for free for a year, and we barely use it because there is only so much EdTech you can use in school as well.
Yeah.
Also, if somebody that I know and trust says, have you come across this? Then I'm more interested.
And the only times that I would have ever found 10 minutes to make a phone call or send an email during my time in education, it will have been because somebody who I know and trust has said, give them a call or give them an email. I would never have done that for a flyer, for an email advertisement. I would never have done that for any other reason than a person I trusted, Tom, to do so. You lead a small rural school and work incredibly hard to give its pupils access to technology and experiences perhaps beyond the standard. If schools get AI right, could it finally close some opportunity gaps that may be faced by children whose experience of education was in smaller and more isolated education settings?
If we get it right, and if every child is given access to the same opportunities in terms of using technology and using AI, then absolutely it could do some good, and it could close some of those disadvantage gaps and things like that. I think what we're seeing is it's going the opposite way currently, is that we're seeing greater gaps appearing because people have the money to do it. If schools got it right, which would cost about £1 billion to get schools up to standard in tech infrastructure. Across, I think it's at the UK or England, I forget. I think that was a Pearson report in January, I think. It might have been January last year now, to be honest. So Pearson's a whole separate conversation again, isn't it? But you think £1 billion is a huge amount of money. Payback on that means it should just be done. You know, for the learners, for closing the disadvantage gaps, for the education, for the economy, for SMEs, whatever it is. Payback is 10 times over. So there shouldn't be a question. It should just be done. The answer will be, we can't find £1 billion. Well, you'll find it when you need it. But actually, you choose not to find it this time. So there's barriers to it within the education system because we're not held accountable to it. If Ofsted had the knowledge of what AI could do, and that became part of the inspection framework, and then schools were given the CPD and the funding and the infrastructure and the hardware to actually do it properly, it's a 3 to 5 year plan. Then it would be an absolute game changer for schools, for learners of all ages, and for the country. And we've seen other countries that are ahead of us already. You know, you look at the states in India, India as a country, they want digital literacy from a young age now. So in 10 years, they're going to be way ahead of us. Way ahead of us. Scandinavian countries teach misinformation from the age of 3 or 4, and have done for a few years now. Way ahead of us. Estonia as a digital nation has its challenges, but is so well integrated businesses and education. They are way ahead of us. And in this country, we've doubled down on the traditional education system.
The pass rate of GCSE is ring-fenced at 75% to guarantee that 25% of young people are kept behind, legally classed as unskilled, meaning that they have to empty lorries and fill up warehouses because they don't have a certificate to say otherwise. That's
education is doing exactly what education is designed to do, which is that.
Exactly. And that's why it will never be marked from a raw score like a driving test. That's why it will always be on a norm reference, so you can ring fence a group of people to class as unskilled, to clean, and to stack.
A lot of EdTech now is sold on the promise of saving teachers' time, which we've talked about already, haven't we? And 10 years on from, or 10, 15 years on from the advent of mainstream EdTech, whatever you want to call it, I don't know, there's no date we can give it, is there really? Teachers aren't working fewer hours, so it hasn't worked.
I think you're right to say that teachers aren't working fewer hours than they would have been 10, 15 years ago. I think it's probably the opposite. I think in secondary, the Progress 8, and I think the use of 2 decimal places to rank education. So for a school, either they're ranking within a trust, if they're in one, they're ranking regionally, and then they're ranking nationally. Every school knows that they're going to be in one of those 3 league tables, and they're going to be positioned to 2 decimal places.
Yeah.
So if you imagine then, much like a Premier League table with 20 clubs in, wherever you finish one season, at worst, you need to finish there next year. At best, you need to be at least 1 above. If your progress 8 score 1 year is minus 0.52, and the next year you are minus 0.47, so you've gone up a 20th of a grade on average of a school, that's what everything is reduced to.
I think recently in the news, we've seen another educator whose death has referenced Ofsted. She was secondary, and this is the sort of thing that the pressure that she was under and worried about. So how is that right?
I had this as a middle leader head of English, and I think as a head of English, pretty much after head teacher and deputy head, your head is on chopping block, really, not far off that top of the table for results. The night before the results come out on the Wednesday at the end of August, the GCSE, that is a terrifying evening for all middle leaders. But if you're a head of English and head of maths, you're up that night like the head teacher might be, and all you're thinking about is that whatever that 2 decimal place was last year, as long as it's that. Or
this is in the summer holidays, isn't it?
Yeah. This is. I'll tell you when it is for this year. This is on
18th August,
Wednesday the 19th this year.
19th.
On Wednesday the 19th, you are waiting for Thursday the 20th, and the GCSE results will come out, and you will just what was the figure? What was the number? Is it closer to 0 than it was last year? When we talk about EdTech in terms of saving teachers' time, it goes back to the idea 20 minutes ago and said, but when was the day or the week or the half-term period that we stopped the momentum of each year being that frantic and on fire with Year 11 results? When was the point where we said, right, we're going to do this innovation week, innovation fortnight, innovation month between the 20th of June, the 20th of July. I've got a core group of staff, and basically they're going to try different EdTechs. They're going to try different things. They're going to feed back to the department, and then maybe they can play with them over the summer and bring them in. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So as to whether, yes, technology keeps improving, technology keeps making these claims about saving teachers' time, it could actually be completely true. It could be completely true that these tools could save the teachers all of these things. But if teachers aren't going to be given the space to understand and poke and question, embrace, actually, yeah, this could. It's like you've got one really old hammer that you use on the building site, and somebody says, look, there's a tool over here you could use. I'm so used to just holding this and doing what I do. I can't take 5 or 10 minutes off to come and look at your power tool and figure out, well, how do the speed settings work and how do you load a new thing in? Even though I completely get it, probably is going to mean that, I go home less tired, my hand doesn't hurt as much. But when are you going to give me the time on the job when you're constantly investigating what I've built to go and spend 5 or 10 minutes talking to the person about how the power tool works? There's no
so
doubt,
wrong, isn't it?
There's no doubt in the world that the power tool, the drill, is better. There's no doubt in the world. So I don't think that the question is about whether EdTech works or not. It's whether teachers are ever given the space to test, poke, question, play with, so they can own it. Because if you don't own it, you're not leading on it. Yeah, Matt, it's been wonderful talking with you. See you soon. Thanks, mate.
Take care, mate.
All the best. Bye. Bye.